Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Navs Effect podcast. I'm your host, David Kanglani, as usual, and it's a very special episode. It's a look back kind of episode, something I haven't done in a while, so I'm excited to do this. But before we get started, and before I introduce our next guest, let me first bring to you a word from Green Blooded.
Attention all Animo faithful. UAAP Season 86 has arrived and it's time for the DLSU Green Archers to reclaim their spot at the pinnacle of UAAP basketball. The battlefield is set and the roar of the crowd awaits. Are you ready to keep the Animo spirit alive? There's no better way to show your unwavering support for the Green Archers than by sporting the finest LaSalle apparel, and that's where Green Blooded comes in. They are your go-to destination for all things green and white, designed with passion and precision to help you stand out in the sea of fans. Ready to gear up for success? Simply visit Green Blooded online to explore their latest collection. Whether you're a student, an alum, or simply a devoted fan, they have something special for everyone. Get ready to cheer the Green Archers back to glory. Let your passion shine through your apparel and fuel the Animo spirit with Green Blooded.
Okay, we are now here in our latest episode. We are joined by a former UAAP champion head coach, Juno Sauler, the coach of the DLSU Green Archers from 2013 to 2015. His resume with LaSalle includes a championship won and a Final Four appearance. He's also currently an assistant coach in the PBA, and the reason why I am bringing Coach Juno on today, we record this Monday, October 16, is because 10 years and 4 days ago, 2013, the DLSU Green Archers won the 2013 UAAP Men's Basketball Championship. It is one of the two LaSalle championships in the last decade. At that point, when the Green Archers won in 2013, it was the first championship in 6 years. It was the first championship of LaSalle's Geron Tang era, and it was led in part by our guest today, who was a rookie head coach for LaSalle at the time. And not just a rookie head coach, but the head coach was assigned the spot just shortly before the season started. And he found a way to buck a slow start with LaSalle to win a championship, ending in very strong fashion. Coach Juno, can you believe it's been 10 years since that day when you won a championship?
Hello, Naveen. Good day to everyone. It seems so long ago, but you can still remember a lot of things that happened during that season.
Yeah, a lot happened that season. So, what's the first memory that comes to your mind when you think about the championship season? Was it the celebration afterwards? Was it being in school for the rally, post-championship rally? Was it a certain game, a certain situation? What just comes to your mind right away?
So many things, but I think first thing top of my head would be being asked to coach the Green Archers 2 weeks before the tournament.
Wow.
I wasn't really ready at that time because I was assistant coach then and had
You were an assistant to Coach G the season before, right?
yes, I was
When you made the
assistant
Final
coach.
Four, yeah.
Yes, and then I just remember the late boss Danding asking me for a meeting, and at the same time, Coach G having a meeting also with San Miguel management. And then I found out that he was going to be asked to coach, head coach Petron at that time, which was San Miguel. And because of that, I was asked to coach the De La Salle Green Archers. During that season, that was one of the most surprising things that happened.
Do you recall asking Boss Danding or Coach G, why me? Or did they just volunteer that reason why they were selecting you? Or was that something that was always established even before it happened, that eventually Coach G would go to the PBA and you were being groomed to take over the team?
The year before, when Coach G asked me to join the staff, we were really thinking of a long vision. Coach G and I go a long way. We both played for LaSalle Zobel, and then we were both neighbors in the South. So when Coach G asked me to join the coaching staff, I happily agreed. And we had a long-term vision, and our goal was really to win a championship for De La Salle Green Archers, both our alma mater. So I was surprised that I was the one asked to handle the team, but I wasn't surprised when I learned about Coach G being named as a head coach for the PBA team, because I knew we had a lot of potential also as a head coach for the professional league.
So 2 weeks before the season starts, and at this point you've played your preseason games like Phil Oil with Coach G calling the shots. So you have a loaded roster. You have two quality bigs in Norbert and Arnold. You have a veteran gunslinger in Almond. You have a young star on the rise, Geron, and you have this new versatile piece in Perkins who had the body of a big man, but occasionally could play like a wingman. And then you had a veteran point guard, L.A. Revilla. You had a young point guard on the rise, Thomas Torres. Another one, Kib Montalvo. You had a vet in Luigi De La Paz. So it was a loaded roster, but it was a roster that was used at that point to being coached by Coach G. Was the transition seamless because you were already part of the coaching staff? Or did you have to put your own imprint on the team that you had to shift some of the philosophies?
There was a little shift, but the easy part there was I was very familiar with the players, knowing their strengths and weaknesses. So it's just a little tweak here and there on what to do defensively and changing a bit the offensive system, which would cater more to the strengths of each player, but really nothing drastic in terms of adjustments.
Even when they think back to that season, a lot of people immediately think that the main strength of the LaSalle team was Geron Tang, which for a good reason because of Geron's ability to score and contribute in other areas. But I felt just as important as a contributing factor to that roster was your presence of big men inside, because you had three quality bigs you can rely on: AVO, Perk, and Norbert. So was that an area that you wanted to emphasize on as well? How game in and game out, you wanted to take advantage of your presence in the paint?
That season, the lineup there was kind of very diverse. So there were games wherein we would have advantage in the inside, then we would really take the ball to AVO, Norbert, and Jason. But then there will be games we will be faced with very dominant bigs also. Like that season, we didn't have any import. So we would be facing, like, for example, UST, which we played in the finals. They had Abdul. UE was a very strong team because of
Charles Mami.
Yeah. So with when there were games wherein we would pound the ball inside, but depending again on our opponent, we would have our guys from the perimeter, like LA, be the ones creating on pick and roll situations, Geron on isolations, and then Almond, although he wasn't a very ball dominant player, but because of his shooting ability, he would be able to space the floor very well, which would allow Avo, Perkins, and Norbert Torres to maneuver inside.
Right. Now, I laugh when you mentioned Almond because Almond never met a jump shot that he didn't like. And there were times that for LaSalle fans, at that point I was still a student. That was my last year at DLSU. So there were times I would shake my head, scratch my head. But at the same time, too, there were times where I was like, okay, what Almond actually brings to the court is necessary right now, because your team was really good defensively, but you would tend to go on offensive dry spells, especially if Geron wasn't on the court. So as a coach, how did you balance that shot diet of Almond Vosotros, knowing when to tell him, Almond, you have to look to pass more, but also knowing when to tell yourself, I can't tell him to stop shooting because his shooting can be really helpful right now?
When it comes to cleaning a home or office, most people just know the basics. Mopping the floor, wiping off dust and dirt is pretty standard. While all that can make a place look clean, it doesn't mean it is clean. Making a place truly clean and virus-free requires a professional help. That's where the cleaning coach comes in. The cleaning coach provides outstanding general cleaning, commercial cleaning, post-construction cleanup, upholstery cleaning, floor, carpet cleaning, aircon cleaning, and disinfection at a very reasonable price. The cleaning coach and his team will do all the scrubbing, dusting, polishing, disinfecting, and sanitizing, so you won't have to. Making your place look clean that you can also smell and feel. You will experience the difference. Now that's stress-free cleaning to a better normal, done professionally by the cleaning coach. Contact the cleaning coach today to learn more.
with Almond, sometimes the players joke about it because I always gave Almond the go signal to shoot. So we
Okay.
would have film sessions wherein I would say, Almond has no bad shot for me. So as long as he has the feel of the game and he thinks he can make a shot, I'll allow him to shoot even if his shot is contested. And I think that was where Almond grew also as a player. There would come a time wherein he would pass off a shot because he saw someone with a better shot or was wide open. But I think he grew because we allowed him to take even the bad shots, and
Mm-hmm.
people criticize us because of that. But then I think in the long run it helped him and it helped the team also.
How did Geron earn the respect of his teammates? Because when you look at Geron's shot selection himself, there were times where he'd go 1-4, 1-5, he'd go ISO, he'd call for a pick, but it would be clear he'd be going to the basket. And at that point, he didn't really have a reliable outside shot yet. So defenders knew that he was going to go to the rim. Now, just because the defenders knew he was going to go to the rim, it didn't always mean that they could stop him because he was stronger than most players in college at that time. And he had a nice touch from about 10 to 30, the 10 to 14 feet range inside the paint. But when you're a rookie, or at that point he was a sophomore, and you're coming in and you're playing with a lot of vets, like we mentioned, like Almond had been there, Avio had been there, Norbert had been there, LA had been there for a while for sure. How did Geron earn the respect of his teammates for them to say, yes, he's the young one, but he's the guy who needs to have the ball in his hands most of the time?
It started, I think, or everything starts, I think, in practice. Geron is a very hard worker and very disciplined. So even in practice, you would see Geron just taking over when he wants to. And I think because of that, his teammates started to give him a lot of respect and realize, okay, if we cannot stop Geron here in practice, then I guess we gotta give the ball to Geron during the ball game, right? But there was one funny instance also. We lost to FEU in the first round. We were up, I think, 11 points or 10 points
I
with
remember.
minutes to go.
Yes.
We had a chance to win. Geron had the ball with isolation on top. We had no timeout, so it was just them deciding on who should have the ball. Geron drove and then clearly seen there were 5 FEU guys around him. And you'd see everyone else standing, asking for the ball. They were wide open, but Geron still decided to take the shot. So the next day we had a film viewing session, and
He missed the shot.
yeah, he missed the
He
shot.
missed
We
the
lost
shot.
that,
Yeah, he
we
did.
lost that game. So we showed it and we explained it to Geron that, okay, we will allow you to do this to isolate in the end game if you want to have the ball and you think you have a mismatch, but you have to learn also to make better decisions. So I said, you gotta trust your teammates also if they're wide open, because Almond can make that shot. I think Jason was open underneath, can make that shot. So that was also learning experience for Geron, which also eventually helped us when we played Ateneo in the second round.
Yes, I
Yeah,
remember.
so second round we were against Ateneo. I told him during the timeout, you gotta read the situation. Okay, if they collapse and you have no shot and you see an open teammate, you gotta give the ball up. But then what happened there when you played Ateneo? It just so happened that they played him single cover. I think it was
Newsome.
Chris Newsome on Geron.
And Newsome did a good job, by the way.
Yeah, Newsome was right there in
was
front.
all over him, yeah.
Correct. Geron had to spin, but for some reason, just single cover, and he decided to take the shot by himself, and he scored it. So I think the growth also of Geron during that season got the respect also from his teammates.
Yeah, that was a big time game because Ateneo was leading for most of that game. If I remember correctly, your team went on a second half or fourth quarter rally and Geron had the ball late. And he just barreled his way to the paint despite incredible defense from Newsome. Did his spin move floater, and he had an ability to hit those floaters even with defenders on him. Were there heated moments in practices now that you remember? Like, we all know during practices when you're competing every day, when you're with the same people, sometimes the people you're competing for with minutes, there tends to be the possibility of heated moments, maybe some altercations, whether that's verbal or physical. What was the most memorable one that you and your team had in that season? And at what point of the season?
During that season, I cannot remember anything specific wherein there was almost a fight that would ensue. I can't remember any. I can't remember anything specific.
What was the chemistry of the team? Would you say they were close?
The three teams that I coached in LaSalle, among those three teams, the chemistry of this one was different. The next year, 2014, we had a bunch of rookies, some Phil-Ams, and I think the chemistry there wasn't as united compared to the first year. And then all the more during the third year, because we had a lot of rookies then. So the chemistry, if you talk about it, the 2013 team was very different. I think a lot of that had to do also with LA Revilla's presence.
Mm-hmm.
LA Revilla showed a lot of leadership by gathering everyone together.
That's what I wanted to ask next, because LA was often seen as this lead by example guy. He was vocal, but not very vocal, like you'd see some leaders on the court perform. But he was respected by everyone there in that locker room, it felt like, including the coaches. And you had a very good coaching staff. You had Coach June Limpot, Coach Alan Kaidik, just to name a few. What was the leadership like of LA behind the scenes?
Yeah, you're correct, Naveen. LA was not the very vocal leader. LA Revilla, yeah, he's not the typical vocal leader, but he would lead by example. So just like Geron, of course, Geron wasn't very vocal at Dimet because I think it's only his second year with the team. But LA as a leader would come to practice very early. He was the last to leave in practice. After practice, he'd shoot probably for about another hour, stay there. So just by that, I think everyone seeing him go to practice early and leave practice late set a very good example for the younger guys.
Do you think that was something that the team really needed the year after the year that you tried to defend the championship?
I thought LA could have really helped us a lot. That was what we were missing in 2014. I don't remember if Kib Montalvo was injured that year or the year after.
I think 2014 he got injured.
Yeah, so he was out.
Thomas and Kib were both injured.
Thomas and Kib. Thomas got hurt early. I think he injured his foot in his second game against Ateneo. So the whole season we were struggling because we didn't have a real point guard. So at times I would have Almond play the point and Robert Bolick play the point. But when Almond plays the point, it takes away a lot of his scoring abilities. So I felt the presence of LA during the 2014 season was one big reason why we had a very hard time.
That's true. Now back to the 2013 season.
Calling all Ateneo fans, UAAP Season 86 is upon us, and the roar of the crowd is about to fill the air as the Blue Eagles gear up to defend their throne. Are you ready to be the sixth man and fuel their journey to victory to keep the crown in Loyola Heights? We know you bleed blue, and now it's the time to show it with pride. Get Blue this year to help you do just that. The brand new collection of Ateneo gear is hotter than ever, and it's the perfect way to display your unwavering support for Team Ateneo. Let your wardrobe do the talking this UAAP season. Wear your pride, stand with the Blue Eagles, and be part of the winning tradition. Don't miss out on the excitement. Join the Ateneo community in cheering for victory. Get ready to soar with the Blue Eagles and get blue.
It didn't always seem like your team would win the championship. In fact, I believe you were 3-4 after the first round. And what was interesting was a lot of your losses were actually close game losses. Like the first round against UE was close. First round against FE was close. In fact, you were even up double digits in the second half. And then there was a game against NU. And it was really after that game against NU where the noise really was aggravated, I would say, in terms of fans being unhappy, fans questioning whether first-year head coach could lead this kind of team, if the players fit well with each other. And then you open the second round, interestingly enough, against an Adamson team that wasn't very good that season. They finished at the lower tier of the standings, but it was a close game. And it was Almond, I think, who hit a big jump shot to win that game against Adamson to start the second round. But even if you beat Adamson by like a slim margin, not everyone was impressed. They thought that the problems from the first round carried over. But then that's when you went on your run. That's when you went on your run of winning, if I'm not mistaken, and if my math is right, 11 out of your last 12 games. I think it was it. You won 11, including Final Four and Finals. The 2 wins against FEU, the 2 wins against UST. Then you swept the second round. So yes, 11. So what flipped before the second round started or after that win against Adamson to start the second round that allowed your Archers to go on a run? Or was it something as simple as you just finally figured out how to close out games?
I think what you mentioned, Naveen, it had to do with both. What helped us also a lot from the first round to the second round, there was a FIBA tournament in between.
Yes, yes,
So
the
those 2
FIBA
weeks,
Asia.
yes, those 2 weeks helped us a lot. We again did two-a-day practices. So a lot of adjustments were done. And then we faced Adamson. Second game was a big game also. We played FEU. Second game in the second round. And I think FEU just lost previously. It was their first loss. Or I think it was their first loss against us. I'm not sure.
Was that the weekend na medyo bumaha? I think there was a typhoon, right? Sorry,
I don't
random.
remember.
But
Yeah,
I
don't
think
remember.
so because I was watching the game at home because it was raining. But anyway, that was when I also first thought, oh, this team, there might be something here.
Yeah, but what you mentioned, close games in the first round, I think helped us a lot. Then we had a tough win against Adamson with Almond shooting a buzzer beater. And then FEU, that really gave us confidence after we beat them in the second round. So we were 2-0 already in the second round. What was crucial, I think, that really helped the mental toughness and the mental growth of the team was when we played UE in the second round.
Interesting.
Because UE, we were preparing against UE with Mami out of the lineup. Because
Okay.
Mami was supposed to be suspended.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Mami was suspended in our game. But so imagine this, Naveen, we were practicing for a week without any Mami involved in the
Okay.
game plan, in our schemes. When I got to the locker room, the representative of De La Salle, UAA Board of Representatives.
Was this Sir Edwin or Sir Nong?
No, it was Mr. Ataide.
Okay, Mr. Ataide, yeah.
So I found out that the UAP board was going to have a meeting right before the game.
Oh.
I didn't know what the agenda was. I entered the locker room. A few minutes after, Mr. Ataide comes in and he tells me, Coach, the UAP board allowed Mami to play.
Wow.
I was like, how can that happen? We were practicing for a week without any Mami. We were doing our own game plan without any Mami. And now, an hour and a half before the game, we now have to prepare for a UE team with Mami involved in the lineup.
Right.
So that's what I had to tell the team. We can't do anything about it because the UAAP board allowed Mami to play.
Mm-hmm.
So now we had to come up with a defensive game plan, which we did not practice at all. I told the guys, we just had to accept it. We can't do anything about it anymore. So what happened was, I think that game, Naveen, went into overtime.
Mm-hmm.
That game against with Mami. And then when we won, that really helped our mental toughness.
Fortitude. And this was after the Ateneo game as well.
And that was right before the Ateneo. I think that was right
after. Right? Was it?
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure if UE or Ateneo or UE. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So your second round was Adamson. I'm seeing it now. Adamson, FEU, UP. There was the UP game also, which you won easily. Ateneo, UE. So you had momentum after the Ateneo game as well to some degree.
So we won against Ateneo. Now we play UE, which was a very, very tough game. But because we overcame that hurdle, now we felt, okay, so you're doing this to us. Okay, we can do anything now after beating you without even preparing for Mami playing. So I think that helped us a lot. It helped the growth of the team when we won against you.
And then you beat NU, and then you beat UST. And the
UST
UST win was
game in the second round, yes. Correct.
And it was a convincing win as well. And Back to that UE game, that was a comeback win as well, right? I think UE was ahead by a few points in the final minutes. I think that was the game when Perkins had a big three-pointer and LA had some
Correct.
big plays
Yes.
at the end
Correct.
also. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I remember that. Correct, correct. And then that was when you were just on a roll. And the difference I felt in the second round compared to the first round was in the second round, you had an identity. It was let's get the ball more inside. Let's use the big men, Arnold, Norbert, Perkins. Let's win the rebounding battle. Because if you're winning the rebounding battle, you're giving Geron multiple chances as well to score at the rim. And he started doing that. And then you get to at that point a familiar rival against FEU in at first the knockout game to determine the number 2 seed, which you won convincingly. And then right away you beat FEU as well in the final four when it started. In what was a virtual best of 3 series, you beat FEU the first 2 games. How did you do that? Because at that point FEU was well coached. They had Terence Romeo, they had RR Garcia. What was FEU a good matchup that season? Because we know that the next season, when Macbella started getting better, that's when it flipped, right? 2014. FEU was a bad matchup for DLSU. But the year before that, 2013, DLSU was a bad matchup for FEU. So how did you beat them 3 straight times?
That was a real challenge for the guards when we played FEU. We challenged the guards. If we needed to win against FEU, we needed to stop RR Garcia and Terence Romeo. So again, I just challenged LA, Thomas, Almond, Robert. We gotta stop these 2 guys, and if we get to stop these 2 guys, we'll have a good chance of getting into the finals.
Yes, and Bello and Tolomia weren't that developed yet at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was majority of the time it was RR Garcia and Terence Romeo. So, but like what you mentioned also, so that was the assignment of the guards. But then we had to keep telling Almon, Avo, Jason Perkins, and Norbert, even Geron to help on the rebounds because they'll be taking a lot of. Those guys will be taking a lot of bad shots, but it's important for us to get the rebound. And yeah, like
Right.
what you said, whether it be an offensive rebound, defensive rebound, the team that goes that wins that statistic has a better chance of winning.
What happened in the Geron Terrence incident from your perspective? Where I think there was something about a hand, high five, and I'm trying to remember correctly. But do you remember that?
I remember there was an incident, but I do not exactly know what happened. And was that during the Final Four?
That was during the
Yeah,
Final Four, yeah.
yeah. I know something happened, but I can't remember. I can't remember what exactly that was.
Right, right. Now, so you're waiting for the winner of the NU UST series, right? And I felt UST was going to beat NU even if NU had it twice to beat because number one, UST was a bad matchup for NU. Number two, Jarek Tang was injured for most of the season. And when he came back, he wasn't good right away, but then they started building momentum. So it was like NU was taking on another 1 seed, caliber team. And it just felt like there's some superstition here, but it felt like fate would just push the two brothers into a possible finals matchup with each other, considering it was Jarek's last year, considering it looked like the UAAP Geron was going to become one of the superstars of the league. He was actually, he turned himself into a superstar that season. So when that NU UST series was going on, did you just know in your gut that it would be UST you'd have to face in the finals?
There's when we played UST in the second round, we won against UST, correct? I heard Coach Pido tell Coach Alan kay Dick when they met in the middle. He said, "I'll see you guys in the finals."
Oh.
So he told that to
Oh.
Coach Alan. So now we're watching before the Final Four against FEU. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Naveen, but UST and Ateneo were tied 4th, 5th at the
Let's
end.
see. So the standings, yes.
Yeah,
They
so they
were
were tied. So
tied.
imagine UST had to win 3 games to enter the finals.
Correct.
That's
And
three
yeah.
knockout games. They had to win against Ateneo to get to the 4th spot. Then they had to beat NU twice.
Yeah, it was also funny as well because they were do or die kind of UST even before the knockout game. Because when they lost Jarek Tang, they lost, three games in the elimination round. So their final games, they beat FEU, UP, lost to you guys, and then
Yes.
beat Ateneo also in the final game. Yes, to get the number 4 seed.
So that's 3 knockout games for UST to get to the finals. So now I hear Coach Pidot tell Coach Allen, tayo rin makikita sa finals. Parang something to that.
Extent.
Yeah, extent. So, but then when we were watching the Ateneo UST game, we saw also, like what you mentioned, Naveen, they were a team. We saw the momentum from the Ateneo game and then going into the Final Four against NU, winning the first game. And we said, mukhang UST nga makakalaban natin sa finals. When the finals came, that was a complete UST lineup already. So you had guys out during the season like Mariano, like Jeg, but then in the finals, they were a complete team already.
Yes, yes. And they won impressively against NU in those two games. I'm looking at the scores here. They beat NU by 9 points the first game and then 7 points in the second game. In both games, they started strong in the first quarter against NU, up 11 after the first quarter in the first game, up 9 in the second quarter after the first game. And then they followed the same recipe against your Green Archers in game one of the finals. They were up 23-13 after the first quarter. They were even up 17 points. And I remember clearly because from the three finals game that series, the only one I watched live at Araneta was game one. Unfortunately, memory of me and my college friends. But you end up only losing that game by 1 point. And I have to admit, I was surprised when that happened because first half of that game one of the finals, it felt like you were the trademark team that made the finals for the first time, and suddenly like the pressure and energy of it seemed like it was throwing your guys off what they wanted to do. Meanwhile, UST had been in the finals the season before in 2012. They lost against Ateneo and they came out the more aggressive team. They came out the more physical team. But it was impressive how by the third quarter of that game one, you guys seem to kind of figure them out at that point. Or rather, you found a strategy that worked because you were able to cut the lead. You were able to even get the lead. It just so happened that at the end of the game, UST hit 2 more shots. There was a Tang shot. There was a Kevin Ferrer three-pointer. And then ultimately, Almond had a great look to win that game in the final seconds again, right? Very interesting how it all plays out. So Almond had a great look. He missed. LA's putback attempt was blocked. So LaSalle fans at the arena are wondering, oh, why didn't Geron get the ball? Or, why didn't Perkins get the ball? He was on fire that game. But did you feel confident even after that loss in game one that, even if you guys were already in a do or die situation, you kind of found something that worked there?
Yeah, when we were able to catch up, we did a lot of studying and we said, okay, this is a way or a good, because of this, we were able to find a small solution on how to beat UST. But I think it was just really again, going back to the mental fortitude of the players. That's what really got us back in game two.
Game two. And by the way, I should also mention that the same year you guys won the championship, the LaSalle women's team also won the championship that season. So it was a double championship for De La Salle basketball. If I'm not mistaken, let me just double check that real quick. Yes,
Yeah,
finals. They beat NU in 3 games. Yeah, exactly. Now, so game two, what's evident right away is... Sorry, no, I want to go back to game one, actually, because it just felt like that was such a big moment, right? After game one for a team in its first ever finals game. To trail by 17, to make a comeback, to come so close, and to get within 1 shot of winning that first game. What was the energy, or paint the locker room environment for me, the bus ride home after that game one?
Honestly, Naveen, I don't remember the atmosphere inside the locker. I think I just remember telling the guys that it's a best of 3 series and the 2 teams need to win 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost the first game, but it doesn't mean that everything's over, everything's done. So we had of course, the second game we had to. It was a do or die game for us, but we still had a chance. So I think that was the only words that I told everyone. I don't remember exactly what the atmosphere in the locker room was like.
Mm-mm. And you had practice the very next day after the game one loss.
I don't. I don't.
10 years
I
ago.
don't remember if the games were on a Saturday or Sunday or a Wednesday. I
I
don't.
think game one was on a Wednesday. Yeah.
Don't remember also how long of a preparation time that was given to us.
Right. Okay. Well, then let's go to game two because this time around you flip the switch. You're up 21-12 after the first quarter in game two. And what I remembered about that game two as well was you just dominated the rebounding department. I think you had more than 20 something offensive rebounds in that game alone. Arnold was really playing very well. Norbert played very well. Perkins was playing very well. And it didn't feel like it was one of those games where the offense was struggling and it had to be, okay, Geron, get us a basket. Almond, make some shots because the big guys really took over. Was that the point of emphasis entering game two to really control the physicality?
Yeah, one thing I remember was that we really wanted to attack Kareem inside. We wanted him, whether it be foul trouble, whether he exert too much energy, and hopefully in the end game he wouldn't be as assertive. So even guys without the ball, like for example, if we were in the post with Arnold, we would tell weak side guys like Norbert, Jason, keep crashing. If you have Abdul on you, keep the physicality. And yeah, that's just what we kept on doing. And yeah, we kept pounding it inside against UST.
Exactly. And entering that series, I thought UST was the favorite because of their experience at that point. But where that started to flip for me and where I started thinking it's an even matchup was UST cut the lead to one, I believe, 44-43 in game two of the finals after you were up relatively big as well, double digits. But then right away in the blink of an eye, you extended the lead back up to 12. And that was a quality of a contender, in my opinion, which was when things seem to be going all right and then suddenly everything's going wrong. How quickly can you regain your composure? How quickly can you take control of the game and play it at your pace? And right away, your team responded. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, okay, this game three is going to be very interesting because now both teams have proven that even if someone builds a lead, the other is capable of coming back and the other is capable of maintaining control. Did you take some positives out of that? How, despite the UST comeback, you were still able to win that second game and tie the series?
Yeah, I think again it's just the players, finding a way to win and refusing to lose. They knew that even if we had that lead and it was cut down, and if we lost that game, then the whole season was done with. So I guess it's them really finding the strength among themselves, to overcome the rally of UST.
All right. So, game three, are there any rituals before the game? Any mass blessings, dinners for the team? How did you prepare them before what was the biggest game of their lives?
I remember night before the game, we had the team dinner and the team mass. So in the dormitory of the guys. So the team managers were there. It was just a simple dinner and a simple mass to make sure everyone was focused for the game the next day.
Did you feel that they were nervous there, or did you feel more excitement?
I was nervous. I don't know about them, but yeah, but at the same time, I was excited also, and really, even at that point, I was happy with where we were already. No one was expecting us to be in a game three final, so I said, if we win, we win. If we lose, there's nothing to be ashamed of. I know the fans and the alumni would want us to win. Of course, we wanted to win, but I was really happy with the opportunity just to play in the finals game.
Exactly. And what memorable game it would turn out to be because it goes to overtime. It involves a comeback. Tang makes that baseline fade away and UST goes up by 15. I think that was in the third quarter.
UST was
yeah,
up 15 in the third. I remember mid-third calling a timeout because at that time I just felt, we were just going through the motion. We weren't really pushing the ball. So that's what I told them during the timeout. Hey, this is a game 3 of a finals, right? And we're just there playing like it's a tune-up game or first game of the season. So I said, we gotta again control rebounds, and from there, that's where we need to run. I felt start of the third, we were getting rebounds, but on the outlet, we were just bringing down the ball slowly, just trying to get into our sets. So if you get to see that span, Jason Perkins did a hell of a job controlling the rebounds and then giving it to Thomas. You'd see instances there where Thomas and Geron were getting into an argument wherein Geron wanted the ball in the fast break. Thomas was like, no, let me handle the ball first. Just run. I'll give it to you if I want to give it to you. But then, yeah, they started to realize it's game 3. We're down 15. It's time to play. And they responded. They responded.
So before we get into the big shots that happened, by the way, a few things that took place also. There were a few turnovers that felt at that moment like just very costly. There was that one pass, I think Geron wanted to give it to AVO, but AVO thought Geron was going for a shot. And when that turnover happened, that was one of those turnovers where I was like, I really wish I'm not going to remember that turnover for the rest of my life, thinking what could have happened if he took a shot attempt instead. But
Was
then,
that
of course,
during, I remember that, I mean, was that during the regulation or overtime period?
see, that's what I'm trying to remember now too, but I can't. But it was definitely when the game was tied. That was when the game was tied pa, so that just like magnified it. It was like, okay, you could have put pressure on the other team. But Geron was also battling cramps at that point. I don't think
Geron
that,
had cramps and
yeah.
Jason Perkins had cramps.
Everyone was cramping up. And then on the other side too, the UST players, you could see some of them were exhausted. And even Jarek Tang, who was coming back from a major shoulder injury, it was fair to wonder, okay, is he still like physically able to, with all these big guys of LaSalle bumping him every chance he gets? But before we get to the big shots late in the game, were there other key plays that you remember or that stuck out to you right away that changed the momentum or turned the momentum towards your side?
I just remember it was really a chess match between what Coach Pido was trying to do. So they would always attack Almond, I
Okay.
remember. When we put Almond against Jarek, you'll see them get the ball to Jarek Tang. So now we decide to switch. Okay, Almond, just go to Kevin Ferrer. They'll give the ball to Kevin Ferrer. So we tried to put him on the point guard. I think it was Sheriff. I think that time. Then they would attack. If we put him on Sheriff, then that means LA or Thomas had to guard Jarek Tang or had to guard Kevin Ferrer.
Kevin.
Yeah. So it was just really a chess match between the two sides. And one of the games wherein after you'd really feel tired because of the things that you had that kept going through your mind during the game. So it's really mentally draining right after.
Was there one move you remember making that you now think back and you say, thank God I made that move?
I think the big one there is the timeout during the third that really changed the momentum of things. During the last 2 minutes of regulation and overtime, I think it was just the players really playing. It was really hard to coach them at that time. You didn't want them to be thinking too much. So I just told, myself and my coaching staff, we just got to let them play. We trusted their growth the whole season, and trying to coach too much or overcoach them in this situation might just lead to drastic things. So because of us trying to make them learn during the whole season and accepting their mistakes, I was just hoping for them, to learn from those mistakes in the past games and hopefully be able to make good decisions in the last minutes of that game.
So the almond shot. The last time you were in this podcast, you shared about how one thing that stands out to you about that shot by Almond that wins you the championship essentially was how Geron was willing to be an unselfish player, making that pass to Almond, which more than anything really showed the growth of him as a player that season. Because like you said in that game against FEU in the first round, he took that shot 1-5. He missed it. And then he made a shot against Ateneo, against Newsome, and he made that too. So, and he at that point was really the go-to guy. But he made the unselfish play. He got it to Almond. Almond makes a fake dribble pull-up shot. When that shot goes in, what's the first thing that's running through your mind? Because you
Uh,
go up by like
I think we
one
went
point
up
or
by
two.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
by one. Yeah.
But the first thing that entered my mind was like, okay, Almond, you made go back and play defense. Okay, there's still time on the clock. Go back. Yeah. But I remember, yeah, I was really happy to see that possession. Just showed the growth of Geron as a player, knowing his mentality, wanting to win so much and trusting himself so much. But at that point, sacrificed a bit of himself, and showing trust in his teammate when Almond was wide open at the wing. And that felt really good seeing Geron make that play. And yeah, even after the game, we talked about that play that he made.
When Almond released that ball, did you know it was going to go in? Did it feel like it was going to go in?
I think I was just watching and I was just hoping that it would go in. I was just watching. Then I was just happy that the ball went in, but then really hard to celebrate at that moment. It's like the game was so fast paced. So I don't remember if I don't even remember what happened in the next play. But
So, were you surprised when Aljon Mariano took that shot? And I have a feeling you know which shot I'm talking about.
that came from an inbound, correct?
Yeah.
That came from an inbound. Was it Jarek Tang, I think, who did the inbound? I'm not actually sure what the play was, but I think it was supposed to be a handoff to Jarek.
Yes, it was supposed to be for Jared.
Yeah, handoff to Jarek, but he was denied. So there was no handoff. Aljon Mariano faced the other way, but he was wide open, I think.
Semi-open, yeah.
Yeah, semi-open. And that's a shot that he, now in Inebra, he makes a living out of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that 17 footer top of the key. And I think that's a shot that he can make. I'm not sure what his percentage was. But if that went in, then he would have been the hero and UST would be celebrating. Now, the sad part was that he missed. And knowing how many coaches there are watching, they'll have their own opinion. And people who are just fans or coaches all of a sudden after a game. And it just so happened that, they'd have to find someone to
Blame.
on. Yeah. But if I was UST, I would be happy with that shot. It's a shot that my player can make. He was wide open or semi-wide open, but given the time and score, 2 seconds with no one to pass the ball to, yeah, I give that one. So it was the same if Almond Vosotro was open and he missed, right? That's something that we'd have to live with.
I also must thank you, Coach. I remember winning a bet I had with my office mates now. The LaSalle UST alum in the office. And thanks to you guys winning, my lunch was paid for a good week or a week and a half. So 10 years later, I'd like to thank you for that. That night when you win the championship, I mean, obviously, tough game. You're exhausted, and then suddenly you're elated. Well, your players were elated. You look like you look like you still weren't happy with your straight face after the championship. I know you were celebrating a little bit inside. But what was the night like? You go back to LaSalle, and this is the first LaSalle championship in 6 years, and the fans are thrilled. The fans are excited, and everyone feels like a superstar, and everyone just is happy after a grueling season to lift that trophy up in the air and to be called champions. So, what do you remember most about that evening?
At first, okay, my feeling was I was very relieved that the season was done with. And then, yeah, we had that meeting with the press after. Geron was there with me. I think he was the best player. I wasn't sure who was the MVP of the finals.
It was Geron, yeah.
Geron, yeah. And then, yeah, he was there in the press with me. And then we were hugging a bit. And that's when we talked about the play that he made, where he passed it to Almond. And then after the championship, we went back to LaSalle. There was a big dinner in LS building. So it was good to see a lot of guys, celebrating, and a lot of guys happy. Even my former teammates from LaSalle, when I was playing in LaSalle, were there. Yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere, seeing everyone happy.
When you're in a dinner like that after a game that you just played, after a season you just had, where you went through the ringer there and you had highs and lows and extreme highs and then extreme lows and then an extreme high to finish it all off. So what's the topic like at dinner? Are players talking about happy that the season is done? Are they going through the game? Are they looking at certain parts of the season? What's the conversation topics?
I wasn't really able to talk to a lot of players during the dinner. It was mostly me and the team managers seated beside one another. But then I remember talking to Arnold and just expressing how happy I was with his growth from the season before. Because I think the season before he was injured, partly injured. I think he had a
Mhm.
hamstring injury. So I remember talking to Arnold at that time. I don't remember talking to the other players during that dinner. Yeah, but I was just, again, just relieved that the season was over.
Exactly. And what a season it was. What a memorable season. And that's something that all of you will remember for the rest of your lives as well. Okay, I want to ask you two questions and I want you to answer me honestly. My first question is, do you ever think about how your last season in 2015 would have gone had Ben and Bala not gotten suspended? Because what you really needed that season was a big man.
Our difficulty during that season was bringing in the holdovers were just, I think, Geron, Thomas, Jason. I think those were just the three seniors, plus a few sophomores like Trotter, Sargent, and maybe Kib Montalvo. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So six. And then everyone else were rookies.
Yeah.
So my fear was, I felt that there was a chance that we could make the final four. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but fourth being the highest.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think that we could make top one, top two, top three at the end of elimination. Unlike the season before, season 14, I knew that we could make the final four, and the lowest was probably third.
Which you ended up being, yeah.
Yes. Fourth would be underachieving. Okay. Fifth, of course, yeah, then you'll hear it from everyone. So I felt that 2015, with the lineup that we had, if we make fourth, then I'll be happy with it. So now we're playing at around 4, 5, 6. But when people say final four, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-mm.
Correct? So my goal was just to enter the final four, but the highest really, my expectation was fourth. And now this happened. I was expecting, my thinking was, even if we had 8 rookies, but if we had Ben Mbala playing that year, he'd be playing probably 34, 36 minutes a game. He would be able to cover the time given to those rookies. But then he was found eligible a few months before the tournament. So here was the problem now. How could we compete with the 8 rookies in the lineup? I felt if Ben was there, maybe our lowest would be fourth. He would have a chance to go maybe third or second or first even. But of course, yeah, all of those are, hindsight. It could have happened. It couldn't have happened. We wouldn't know. But I felt we would have been a stronger team if Mbala was there.
If Mac Bello doesn't hit that shot in 2014 and you go to overtime against FEU, do you think you would have won that game and won the championship and gone back to back? Because you still had a good roster in 2014, despite the injuries.
Did I tell you the story about what happened during the timeout before the shot?
No, and now I want to hear this.
Okay. So here it is, right? We score a basket, game tied, 24 seconds to go. FEU calls a timeout.
Yes.
All right. The conservative thing to do, coming out of the timeout defensively, would be to play your best defense, play one stop, and get the rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Knowing FEU will probably milk the clock, take the last shot. If you'll have probably 2 seconds, 1 second left to throw a Hail Mary or whatever. Okay. When they called the timeout, the first thought that entered my mind was to foul, which was
Okay.
very unorthodox.
Did you have a foul to give?
No, we were in penalty.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to foul, and I wanted Tolome to shoot 2 free throws
Ah,
with the game time,
okay. Why is
24
that?
seconds. Why is that? This was my thinking. Okay. We come out of the timeout. I knew Coach Nash would call a last shot So, if they miss the last shot, game goes into overtime.
Yes.
If they make it, game done. No chance for us, end of the season.
Okay.
And that's something I didn't want to happen.
Uh-huh.
So I was willing to put my head on the line by making an outrageous instruction to foul.
Oh, that would have been considered outrageous for sure.
Yeah, so imagine you come out, you foul, FEU shoots 2 free throws, we get the ball back, we miss. Alumni and all Salle fans would be saying, what the hell did the coach tell them to do? Why did they
Exactly.
foul? All they could have done was play one good stop on defense, get the rebound, that's it. Game into overtime. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I wanted to do. First assistant, Coach Alan Kaidik, comes to me and said, foul tayo.
Wait, sorry, why Tolomia?
Because
he would
games
have the ball.
before that, he was missing free throws in the end game.
Oh, so you studied that.
And I knew that they were going to go to Lomia, to Lomia, right? So I said, foul tayo. Sabi ni Coach Alan, Coach, ano lang, one stop. I looked at Jun Limpot. Ano, foul. Jun Limpot goes, one stop tayo, Coach, one stop. I looked at Coach Freddy Abuda. One stop lang. Okay. One stop. Then we go to the players. These were the defensive rules. One stop. We get the rebound. If we have a chance to shoot, yeah, we'll go. If not, then overtime.
Yeah.
But what happens? So now, I knew that they were going to take the last shot. I see Tolomia with the ball. Okay, one stop. Julian Sargent, player best defense on Tolomia. He attacks. 4, 3, kicks it out to Bello in the corner. 2, 1. I see clearly, it's counted. I see clearly that he releases before the red light in the backboard lights up. And I said, if this is going to go in, we're done.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens.
He was open too, right?
Yes, he was open.
I think Perkins
was guarding him in the corner. He helped a bit. He rushed out, but Bello had some sort of space and was able to shoot.
Was Perkins incredibly upset after that?
Until now, we haven't talked about it.
Both of you or the whole team?
I didn't talk to anyone about it.
That painful. That painful. When your assistants told you one stop, were you tempted to call everything they said off and be like, you know what, we're still gonna foul no matter what?
Previous year, that year, there were a lot of times I'd imagine the experience of those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Alan Kaidik, experience coaching, playing the PBA. You have Jun Limpot, you have Freddy Abuda. And because of their experience, I give a lot of respect to them.
Yes.
So I'd listen to a lot of their suggestions during the game. I'd follow a lot of their suggestions. But then again, you know, I take full responsibility for whatever decision it is that I give during the timeout, right?
Wow.
So I tell this. What's funny was I tell the story to Boss Danding.
You told him.
Yeah, I told him, boss, this is what I wanted to do. So after the game already, we were talking, and he tells me, so what's the lesson there? So he tells me, you know, Coach Juno, even in my business dealings, I always follow my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was my intuition. I had that voice inside my head. As soon as Coach Nash called the timeout, a voice inside my head said, let's foul. But I didn't follow my intuition. So that's what Boss Tang told me.
So let's say you foul Tolomia, and hypothetically, let's say he makes 1 of 2 free throws. So suddenly,
imagine he has to make 2.
Exactly, and
if he makes 1 or misses, Salle will have a chance to win.
Exactly, and you were right, by the way. Too, I remember Tolomia was missing some free throws towards the end of that season. So my guess would have been like he would have gone 1 of 2 from the foul line. And if he goes 1 of 2, you just need a 2-pointer to win. You don't even need a 3.
Correct.
So let's say he makes 1 of 2. Would it have been a Geron ISO for the win?
It would have been a Geron ISO. Was ready to give instructions already. Tolomia misses. Get the ball to Geron. Do what you did, whatever spacing that you guys know that we do in practice. Because we have situations for that. We're prepared for that kind of situation. Now, let's say even if Tolomia makes both, we still have a chance to tie and we still have a chance to win. Just imagine what happens if Geron drives, scores a layup, or what happens if Geron drives, the team
Gets
collapses,
fouled.
you have Vosotros, you have Thomas Torres corner, they shoot a three. We have a chance to win if we fouled.
Correct.
But by
Correct.
not fouling, we have no chance of winning. It was just overtime or FEU advances.
Exactly. Wow. Wow. Very, very, very interesting. Now, have you had the opportunity to come back to coach since leaving LaSalle in 2015? Have you been offered by any other school? Have you been offered to come back as an assistant? Have you just chosen not to come back to college basketball?
There were a few PBA and college.
Head coaching jobs.
Yes.
But you haven't been a head coach since leaving LaSalle. What's your reason for not accepting a head coaching job?
What happened when I was offered the college coaching job? It happened so soon. If I'm not mistaken, around 2017.
Which school, coach? I have to ask. Which school?
I cannot say. I
Okay,
cannot say.
give us a hint na lang. Don't
But
say,
in the
but give
NC,
us a
it
hint.
was in the NCAA.
NCAA, okay. But UAAP wala pa after that.
Non-UAAP.
Okay, okay. And PBA, you were also for the head coaching job.
There was, but I felt my loyalty with the San Miguel group goes a long way.
I
I
see.
was with the group since 2002. So
Okay.
imagine 21 years with the company, and they've taken good care of me. And so that's one reason decided to stay with the group.
Would you consider coming back to UAAP coaching if someone offered?
I'm always open, but with regards to the decision, I wouldn't know yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, San Miguel's backing one UAAP school right now. Who knows, right? In the future. But let's leave that conversation for another day. Let's go to something that I know is close to you, which is your basketball philosophy of teaching in the grassroots levels and young hoopers in the Philippines the importance of not relying on the 2-3 zone defense, which was the main topic we discussed the last time you were in my podcast. And by the way, I'm very thankful you decided to come back, do another episode to talk about all these stories. Thank you so much. But give us an update as well on where you are in terms of your mission of educating young basketball players in our country.
This year, Naveen, I started an advocacy, which is to try to take away the zone defense in the youth level. So all games, whether camps or leagues, I've been doing a lot of research, and I know we talked about it, learning about European countries, teams in the top 10 FIBA rankings who do not allow zone defense in the youth. After our podcast before, I was able to talk to a few leagues. I'm very happy with the progress. So you have leagues like Cebu. They started with 15, 13 under. They have the Cebu Youth Basketball League, which is a very big league in Cebu. Now they're starting again in a few days for the 12 and 14 under, and they've decided to continue banning zone in their league. Another very big league here in Manila, Milku. If you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that, they have their games in West Green Hills. They decided also that all games 15 and under. Batang PBA also decided to adopt the rule. Then one of the big leagues here, Batang Filipino Basketball League, which is a national league. You have hundreds of teams competing, which means thousands of kids competing. They've accepted also the rule of not allowing zone. And then NBL, which is they have also internationally, they're connected internationally, UBL. So a lot of leagues really have been adopting the no zone rule. Then what I've been doing also along with my fellow coaches in Magnolia, we've been going around the Luzon area. So like even next weekend, we have coaches camp in Candelaria, Quezon. So we'll be talking to grade school, high school coaches, and that's just what we do. We educate, and then we try to teach what we know and to apply just purely man-to-man principles.
Fantastic. It's great to hear that. It's great to hear the development of young players in the country. And I'm sure you and your team are doing a great job. So, final question. You have a young kid, Santi Sauler, who is studying in the United States, in New York, playing basketball there as well. I believe you recently practiced with CSB. just joined the practice, and he's joining. He's taking part in as many opportunities as he can to improve as a basketball player. And your son is close to reaching the college level. So, any update on his future and where he might play college basketball?
So now he's studying grade 12 in New York. His priority is to get into a college in the US. So whether that be a Division 1, 2, or 3 school, but me and my wife, us being parents, our priority is him getting into a good school academically. And
Mm-mm.
if it so happens that he has an opportunity to play basketball, then of course that's something that we will allow him to do. If he does not get into a school in the US, then he's always open to come back here, play in any college that's interested in him. But like what we've talked about before, and like what you mentioned, he's College of St. Benil has been wanting him to practice. I'm not sure how serious they are. He's also been practicing with Talk and Text and
Mhm.
Ateneo when he was here. So it was Coach Sandy who always asks him to play with the team. Because at that time, I think Talk and Text was they had an incomplete lineup during the
Yeah,
PBO. Yeah, so Coach Sandy welcomed my son to practice there. So we'll see. We're still very open. We don't know what lies ahead.
of course. Long way to go. Well, I wish you the best of luck, Coach Juno. I wish the best of luck to your son Santi. May his future prospects end up very bright. And I want to thank you for reminiscing on that championship journey with LaSalle with me today on this podcast. It was a very fun episode, one of my favorite episodes, definitely. And yes, just thank you for your time.
Thank you, Naveen. Thank you.